in the beginning, I really didn't even know if this was something I could do, because I had never really even heard of music libraries, or I had never even realized there was music being used in film and television that wasn't written by whoever the famous composer, John Williams or Mike Post or whoever the person is that you see, gets the big credit.
Right.
And so when I realized, okay, there's this possibility, I just I wrote a few things, and I got them out to a music library that I had made a connection with, and I had my first 2 placements. And when I got that first royalty check and the check with the license fee, I just the little light bulb in my head went off, and I said, okay, if I had a lot more songs, not just these 3 or 4 songs that I had, I think I could make a living from this, because, this is whatever it was, $750. I think the whole thing together was, $1,500, the first license fees and the BMI that I got there. And so I thought, well, if I can make this from a few songs, if I had many more songs, I could make a living from this. So that's how it, and that's when I basically started to just write more music and try to get it out there. And what happens is you really have to have a large catalog to make a living at this from film and television, because it's so, you're not going to make, thousands or tens or hundreds of thousands of songs from of dollars from one song as you would if you got really lucky from a hit song. So you have to realize you need to have a large catalog of songs.
But you don't need a large catalog to start initially, do you?
No, not at all.
Build one up over time.
Oh yes, absolutely. You just start. You just have to get the taste of it. I think you have to get something out there, and once you get it placed and you see, okay, there's some money coming in, that's when you realize, you have to build the catalog over time. But that can take many years, and you don't have to have a large catalog of music to present to a music library. They're mostly interested in 1 or 2 great songs in the beginning, and then hopefully you build a relationship with them and you can pitch more stuff to them.
At dinner, you used the word pipeline and said that you see people make the mistake of they pitch one song and it gets picked up by a library, and then they sit and they wait and they wait and they wait. Kind of describe the process. Tell people what a library is, first of all, if you can define that, and then what the process is when you send a song to a library, how it gets, from you to the library and ultimately used in a TV show or a movie.
Okay, well, music library is basically categorized music that is available to film and television music supervisors whenever they need a specific piece of music that usually is too difficult to produce for the composer of that show. Or there are also shows on cable television, for example, that don't even utilize composers anymore, where there's all the music comes from music libraries. But essentially, if you had a show like CSI, you have your composer on it, but let's say they go into some kind of bar or something like that, and they need a blues piece that would come from the jukebox. Mm-hmm. Well, it would be really time-consuming for John Keane to write this blues piece, this authentic blues piece, if it's just going to be on for 30 seconds. It seems it would be too much work for that individual composer. And this is when they go to library music a lot of times. For source music, music that comes from the jukebox, the car stereo, plays in in a bar or wherever. So that would be where library music comes from. And what a library is really like a catalog, and the songs are categorized according to style. So if you're looking for blues, there's a CD with blues, and so you go on, if you're the music supervisor, and you put that CD in, and all you have is various blues tracks. You might have the same thing for hip hop, you might have the same thing for salsa, and so the way music libraries find their songs is they either find them from various composers. They might just go out, use TAXI for example, and say we need some salsa music, and they might get various cuts from many different composers and collect them on one CD. Or they might also hire a particular composer to write the entire CD. And
somebody they've worked with and have a relationship.
Yes, exactly.
They know where the quality and the work ethic are, so they go out and reach out to
they will call me and say, we just need 10 salsa songs, and in some cases they will be very specific and tell me we need some female ones, some male ones, up tempo. Sometimes they will even give you examples of what they want. Sometimes they will be very vague and just say, well, salsa, so you do it.
So one of the questions, a point of frustration, I guess, among our members is they submit to a taxi listing for a music library. They send in that salsa song, and then we forward it to the library, and 3 months later they haven't heard a word out of the library. Can you explain why, it might take 6 months or 9 months before they're offered a contract, and they shouldn't get discouraged if they've had a forward and nothing happens in 30, 60, 90 days, why they shouldn't get discouraged and they should keep making music and sending it out to other listings and keep stuff in the pipeline, as you say?
The reason is, of course, because a music library, like I said, is a catalog of music. They're not usually responding to an immediate need from a music supervisor, but they're just collecting pieces of music and they're just putting them together. And so when you get forwarded, that company, usually most companies plan ahead. So they might say, okay, we're going to need some salsa music, so let's just get started in finding some. But, they might place a listing with Taxi. Taxi might send some music to them, and then they're going, okay, this is our salsa stuff from Taxi. We're going to put this over here because right now I have something else to do. A lot of times, they also have to keep marketing that music, and you really want them to market your music because otherwise it's not going to get used. Right. So you have to realize that there's a lot of work involved in trying to keep all your contacts alive. They're always going to, call other music supervisors and to try to keep in contact with these people to make sure that your music is going to get used. So that's why a lot of times it can take a long time. It can take a year sometimes. It's not uncommon. And this is something that we just have to live with. And we also have to live with the fact that if you do get contacted by the music library and they sign your song, it might take a year or 2 years or 3 years until your song then eventually gets used. So this is not for people who are, have attention deficit disorder or something like that.
So, but I think a lot of people wait. That first song gets sent to the library and they wait and they wait and they wait. So what you're saying is they should continue making music and pitching it to libraries.
Yes.
I've always said to people, what you want to do is try and get 20 tracks, 50 tracks, 100 tracks a year, if you possibly could, picked up by as many different libraries as you can to increase your chances.
Absolutely, that's true. I mean, you have to think of it. If I'm going to use a very simple example, I'm not vouching for that these are actual real numbers, but let's say you have one song that you place with the music library, and it's some kind of specific style of music. Let's say every month this song gets an opportunity. Every month some music supervisor puts this song on and considers it for a placement. Well, he just listens to the song. In most cases it won't be a good fit for the scene. So let's say 99 times out of 100 times he rejects that song, and one time he uses it. Well, if your song gets a shot once a month, and it may take 99 rejections for that song to get used, you'll be old and gray by the time you make your first placement. So what I'm saying is, now let's say you had 100 songs out there. Every one of your 100 songs gets a shot a month. And every one of those songs gets rejected 99 times out of 100, which means now you have one placement a month because you have 100 songs. It's not a good idea to wait until your song makes money and then write another one, and wait until that makes money and then write another one, because it could take 4 or 5 years, and you're never going to get to a large catalog of hundreds of songs if you just wait and wait and wait.